For today's video, I wanted to do another edition of photoshopping palettes into the way I want them to be, because they weren't exactly perfect in the way I wanted them to be. So. So I have 4 palettes that we're going to be working on today. I have the Blockbuster and Hot Topic palette. I have the Urban Decay Wild West palette. The new Natasha Denona Loco palette, the one that looks kind of like clown makeup, and then the Beautybay Fiery 2 palette. I spent a good amount of time editing these down, and I've edited this down into like essentially a speed edit, a speed building of palettes, if you will. So let's just get started. Okay. I've done this once before. If you haven't seen it, I will put a link in a card so you can check it out. I did one a couple of months ago, but let's just dive right into the first palette. We're starting with the Hot Topic and Blockbuster palette. When this first came out, I was kind of excited for it, but knowing how the quality of Hot Topic palettes are, as a former Hot Topic employee, I wasn't optimistic. Digging into this, the first thing I wanted to do was change the background to black because it's easier to work with and easier to see, because one of the biggest pet peeves I have is when a palette has a bright colored background that's like so close to one of the shades, and it just makes the shade look that much more desaturated and sad. So I made the background black just because it's easier to actually like see the colors, be inspired by the colors. It's a clean canvas. And then the next thing I actually did, I grabbed the actual shades from the outside of the palette, because the yellow and the blue at the very front, the very first 2 shades, were actually a little bit lighter and not quite as like rich as what was actually on the outside of the package. So I wanted to deepen those up, make them a little bit richer. And I literally went on Google and just started like searching for Blockbuster images, and I was like, what can I find here? What other colors things do they have in their stores? Because we had a Hollywood Video near my house. We didn't really have a Blockbuster. We had Hollywood Video. So I kept some of the shades the same, but a lot of it was kind of like adjusting finishes and tones, and because this whole palette was matte. So I made this gold in the bottom right, the shade Television. I made it into like a satin kind of shimmery gold, whereas the first color is like a straight up matte mustard shade. And then the green shade, I actually made it a little bit lighter, a little bit more kind of, the lighter teal felt a little more 80s, a little more pastel. I don't know why I felt like changing it, but you know. And now I'm messing with the browns. So this top brown shade, what did I do with it? What, did I make it pink? Oh, I started doing some shades that were more like kind of stereotypical 80s shades that lean more in like kind of cyberpunk type colors. And I ended up not keeping that pink, but we're kind of playing around with the pink for a little bit, and moving some things around. We're just adjusting stuff. And then I also added a purple because I felt like purple, pink, and teal and blue were definitely very 80s, but the pink and the purple don't stick around for very long. I end up changing them. But this kind of gray charcoal at the top, I made into more of a shimmery kind of, shimmery kind of gray, like a shimmery charcoal, because I wanted to add, again, a little bit more of a variance in finishes because this palette was so matte. I found a photo of a Blockbuster t-shirt, so I took the yellow from that shirt and actually made that shade into Comedy. Yeah, Comedy I made into the bright ass yellow, and I thought it worked. And then I also grabbed the kind of dark blue teal from the shirt as well, and I actually ended up changing the pink into that like dark blue teal, and I feel like it works a lot better into this kind of like more 90s color story, because I realized quickly, I'm like, Blockbuster isn't solely like 80s type stuff, it's also very 90s. So we went into this kind of like darker desaturated tealy blue shade. I made the teal into, again, kind of like a shimmery shade. The way I showed a shimmer, I actually added a filter and a texture to the gradient images, you'll see that in just a second that I'm doing right here. I'm adding a filter texture over the top, testing which ones work. Gotta love Photoshop. There it is. So now it looks more like a shimmery eyeshadow. And I'm doing this to all of the other shimmery eyeshadows. And I think, is this how it stayed? I thought the purple went away. Oh no, I do change the purple. I was like, I know I changed something. Oh, I made like a darker kind of reddy brown. Because there wasn't any other like dark shades in here besides that charcoal and then the dark kind of bluey teal. Made this charcoaly one with that filter, and there we go. Look at the difference. I mean, I think the original one was fun, but I feel like the one I made was a little more fun and had a little more variance because of the finish. Because the whole original palette was mattes, it just ended up looking kind of chalky because probably the quality and also just like the shade variations weren't that exciting. But what do you think of my redo? I like it. Next, we have Beautybay, and this is the Fiery 2 palette, which is 42 shades. So the first thing I did, and literally I think the only thing I did, was delete a bunch of shades. I'm just going through and finding things that look way too similar, things that are redundant, things that don't need to be there, because so much of that top like line is all very like light tan, light nude shades, which are just very unneeded, especially because they're gonna look exactly the same on the eye. So I went through and I just deleted a bunch of shades and moved them around. So it's me just kind of like making a puzzle, a new puzzle, to fit this into half the amount of spaces. I think I actually had a lot of fun with this one because it was interesting to see exactly how many repeat shades there are. What did I do with this one? Oh yeah, no, I deleted one of those. Because again, pointless. I'm counting how many I have left. And I have left to delete. Bam. I think I have one more. Finding the layers that I'm working with is always a struggle. Like, which layer is it? I don't know. I don't name my layers when I do this stuff. But I'm going through and just rearranging the shades to put them in an order that makes sense, because I literally cut down it to half the shades. And once I cut it down to all of these shades, I think they end up being like a really fun color story. I think it totally works. I think it totally works. I would buy this. I would buy this in a heartbeat. Hell yeah. Just moving stuff around. There we go. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the difference. I think I ended up adjusting a couple more. Yeah, I added one kind of deeper reddish shade, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm just grabbing a shade that I can adjust a little bit easier and copying it and pasting it so I can just work with it, because I wanted like a deeper kind of like eggplant-y maroon wine shade. I was like, eggplant, maroon, wine. And that's literally all I did. I changed one shade and I deleted half of them. Bam, there you go. And now we have a new palette. Wouldn't you buy this? I would buy this. Look at the difference, honestly. The difference between these two is pretty staggering, because you can see on the top level, like I deleted almost all of the shades at the top because they're just so unneeded, when you have all of this like fun, rich color on the bottom. I don't know. I feel like having unnecessary amount of crease shades in a palette this big, it's just like, why is it this big? Like, what are you doing? We don't need this. Who asked for this? 42? If I thought 35 was bad, 42? 42 shades is an abomination. I'm sorry. Not sorry. Next, we have the Natasha Denona Circo Loco palette. And this one was the hardest for me to find a photo of, because like there weren't any actual like clear photos of it besides this. So I wasn't a huge fan of the oranges in the palette. I feel like it kind of like, I don't know, was a weird contrast, even though I have orange and purple going on right now with my lighting. But the oranges, I wasn't a fan. So I spent actually a decent amount of time kind of going through here and figuring out where I wanted to move things, what I wanted to delete, and what I wanted to adjust. And so this one right here that I'm working on, I'm making it more of like a light purple, because I feel like there wasn't like a light purple in the palette, a lot of dark purples. And I wanted to make this more kind of purple, green, and gold. The orange and the pink just kind of threw me off. I didn't mess with the pink that much, but the oranges threw me off. So I was just very confused by this. I don't know, it's like they just can't get it quite right. I don't know. With palettes being this expensive, I don't want to invest a bunch of money in a palette that I don't love wholeheartedly. And I actually did kind of struggle with this one because it was so all over the place. So there's just a lot of me kind of struggle busing through this, trying to figure out where I want to put stuff, what I want to copy and paste. So I'm just leaving this whole thing in because it's honestly kind of interesting seeing like how much of a weird struggle it was because this palette was so complicated and disjointed. So just kind of moving around and copying some stuff. I like the idea of putting more kind of gold tones and keeping the golds and the yellows because I feel like those really complemented the purples and the greens. But the oranges, I don't know, orange next to purple just reminds me of college colors. Like it just reminds me of college football. All right, now we're kind of playing like, I don't know, a bit of a musical chairs, kind of moving things around and putting things where I want them to go. Just like literally stretching images to the size of the palettes themselves. No, I just switched the light purple and the dark kind of berry shade. Yeah, I just ended up moving this one around a lot because it was a struggle to kind of get things in the right place. And I don't even know if I succeeded in making this palette more like what I wanted. It was fun kind of going through it, you know? Just kind of like making sure that the placement was what I liked. Because that was the thing about that palette that kind of bothered me was the placement of everything. So I think I achieved something. I don't know. Next we have the Wild West palette from Urban Decay. And this is one that I actually mentioned in my last anti-haul that I'm like, I'm going to redo it. I'm going to make my own. And again, this one was actually kind of a struggle, kind of finding exactly what I wanted because I feel like a lot of my ideas around this palette was about pairing it with other things in like a full collection, doing like a sheriff's badge highlighter and like cowboy pocket rocket lip glosses. Like that would be like chef's kiss of a collection. Literally the first thing I did was I searched Wild West images on Google just to kind of get ideas for colors and stuff and aesthetics. Grab some like blue tones, a little bit like scarlety red tones. This one, again, I kind of go back and forth with a decent amount of times. So I'm taking this gold and really saturating it up because one thing that Urban Decay is known for is putting these like sad ass golds in every single palette. So I'm making the gold very gold, and then this kind of browny warm brick tone, I'm making it very warm brick tone because I just needed to add some more color, some more saturation. This palette was also just sadly lacking some shades that really made sense. So I added in like a really, really, really dark, I mean like a black realistically. And I literally just searched Wild West. I eventually searched Wild West. So you'll get to see some Will Smith and Cisco, Kevin Kline, Kenneth Branagh. Yeah, so I the Wild West, it was 1999, I was right. I wanted to add the black in there because while a lot of things were dusty in the Wild West, there just needed to be like a straight up black shade. And because I thought it was an abomination that they didn't have Midnight Rodeo or Midnight Cowboy in the palette, I added in Midnight Rodeo. I literally like grabbed Midnight Rodeo and slapped it in the palette because Urban Decay, you already have multiple eyeshadows themed around Wild West. Midnight Rodeo, Midnight Cowboy. Midnight Cowboy is like a pink, so I wasn't really keen on using Midnight Cowboy. So I made that yellow a bit more actual yellow. Oh, this is where I put Midnight Rodeo. There we go. Literally just like copying and pasting like a swatch from the color and then just slapping it in there. It's not that different from what they already had. It's a little more taupe and a little more champagne than what they already had. Theirs was a bit more silver, which I can see silver as being a shade in there, but it wasn't what I was going for. Yeah, see, Midnight Cowboy is definitely more pink. What did I do with this charcoal? What did I do? I just made it a little darker. Just a little bit darker. Just a little darker. Like the studs on your shoes, you know? This was the shade I had a hard time with. I wasn't sure if I wanted to do something more red. So I grabbed some red tones in there and I moved the brown first. I moved Whiskey over to have that spot right there. And then I messed with that kind of lighter tone right there. And I made it red. It doesn't stay red for very long, but I wanted to show that process because, yeah, I wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling it. Oh, and I also made this charcoal. I made it more blue, like blue jeans. And this was kind of where I realized I didn't want that red to be red because I feel like having the blue, the yellow, the green, and the red was a bit much. So I end up turning the red into a gray here in a second. Because I'm like, no, the red's not working. The red's not working for me. See, I like that a lot better. Because we still got that kind of light, not light, mid-tone kind of charcoal. And we get some of that going on. So, and look at the difference. I mean, I don't super dislike the original Wild West palette. I feel like it wasn't everything that they could have made it, but it didn't look like a bad palette. I just wanted to kind of up the saturation, make it a little more fun, match the outer packaging a little bit better because there was that kind of blue and green and purple kind of snake skin thing going on. So I wanted to add a little more color into the palette and I think I succeeded. I hope. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Please don't tell me if it's bad. I'm just having fun. Photoshopping some things. Oh, my blanket's falling down. I got a new chair, but I have an Afghan over the top of it because it's comfortable. I had fun with that one. Let me know in the comments down below which palettes you maybe want me to redo that have come out in the last little bit because these are a little bit older. And so what I might want to do for next month is kind of like gather some palettes that have come out recently to do for next month. So let me know in the comments if there are any recent palettes that you have seen that I should Photoshop and redo. I've definitely had a lot of people suggest the Elf and Chipotle palette. And honestly, like they kind of got the color story down. So like I'm not mad at it. I mean, I'm mad at it from like a corporate standpoint, but like the colors, I'm like, that kind of looks like a burrito. For today's song of the day, let's see. I will say today's song of the day is Say the Name from Clipping because I have been driving a lot lately, like a lot, and listening to like the loudest music possible. And Clipping has been one of those artists that I have constantly been like, yep, I'm gonna play this because it's loud and I can shout along to it and just like dance in my seat, in my car. But Say the Name by Clipping is your song of the day. It is fantastic. It is like hardcore kind of alt industrial hip hop. Wonderful. That's what I've been blasting in my car recently, and you should too. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. If you are new here and would like to see more of my videos, please subscribe. There's like a good 30-ish% of you who watch my videos who actually aren't subscribed, so like, let's get that number a little bit lower. So like, if you like my videos and come back to watch them, why not subscribe? That'd be really cool. I hope you are staying home, staying healthy, staying safe, staying masked up, getting vaccinated if you are eligible, and if you are able to in your area, please get vaccinated because the quicker we can get everybody vaccinated, the quicker we can all go back to a semi-normal. I say semi-normal because I will absolutely be wearing a mask out in public when I don't feel well from now on. So leave a comment below letting me know which was your favorite of my redesigns and if there are any palettes you want me to redesign in the future, and I will take that into consideration on my next video. Have a good one, everybody, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye!